Premium expensive motorcycles may offer you with a lot of goodies and electronics as standard, but when it comes to practical day-to-day use, you will notice the absence of basic stuff like a center stand and crash protection that is offered as standard on your regular 100cc motorcycle. In this video, I am going to install frame sliders on my BMW G310R. Surprisingly, I didn't get to see a good video or even a web page review on frame sliders for this motorcycle. Frame sliders can be really helpful in protecting your motorcycle panels, engine and frame, and when you're trusting a product to do so, you better get a good one. A slider resting on a single mounting point is just as strong as that bolting point. So I wanted something secure that was structured around multiple mounting points that can distribute the impact force. My search landed me to these sliders from Bandidos pitstop, and to be honest, I didn't find any other option in the domestic market, and this is the first time I'm using their product. On receiving the product, I was impressed with the fit and finish and was happy to see all the required fasteners and spacers in the package. As I have earlier mentioned in the videos that this motorcycle is filled with hex bolts, and it's good to see that all the replacement bolts are hex type. Coming to the installation part, there is a slider to protect the right side and the other to protect the left side of the motorcycle. To begin with the right side, you have to remove this 2 5mm hex bolt behind the coolant line. Once the stock bolts are out, you replace them with a longer 5mm hex bolt included in the package that will add up to the extra space required by the slider frame. If you are wondering about the tightening torque requirements, then most of these 5-6mm casing bolts require torque in between 10 to 15 Nm. Now this could have been a matter of concern if the slider was completely dependent on these casing bolts, but thankfully these are just the holding points for the slider, as the actual reinforcement is coming from the chassis tube through this bar clamp, which is secured by a bigger 6mm hex bolt. I liked the attention to detail where the inner side of the C-clamp holding the chassis tube has got a layer of soft rubber which won't damage or chip the contact patch on the chassis. We already spoke about the torque requirement, but it is equally important to sequence the fasteners for proper fit and alignment. Switching sides, we have got a similar installation procedure where we begin with the 2 hex bolts on the top of the magneto case. I am pointing out these bolts as they can get confusing in the sea of hex bolts in the casing. The left side requires spacers to match the slider height and to make space for the slider frame. Just to clear up the sequence, the bolt enters the slider frame followed by the spacer. The complete system enters the mounting space with perfect fit, no need for any adjustments or alteration over here. Just like the right side, the core strength of the frame comes from the chassis tube clamp with the bigger 6mm bolt. I feel this is a smarter choice when compared to the mounting points on the foundation bolt, which can really mess things up if you fail at the installation part. Frame sliders can be of great help when your motorcycle falls at standstill or from slow speeds. Even at higher speeds, it can take the beating and save the lower half of your motorcycle, including your engine and transmission. Practically speaking, accidents don't follow patterns, and most of the time it's your handlebar that sacrifices and acts like a primary frame slider for the top half of your machine. And we cannot expect ceramic coating and PPF to protect the rest of the motorcycle in case of a slide. In this case, I found the length of the slider adequate enough to cover most of the lower body. The hard plastic contact part sitting above the metal rod is a good choice for taking in the abrasion. If you take a look at this slider, then it blends in very well with the rest of the motorcycle. My mom was really excited to see this addition on my motorcycle, and she suggested a very good use of that slider rod to carry her grocery bag. On that note, I guess that's it for this video, and I hope you guys have liked it.